A logging crew found human bones in the Oregon woods in 1978. Nobody knew who he was. It took 52 years to find out. This is the story of Mark Smith. The man who vanished in 1974. The man whose family stopped waiting for him, one by one. And the man whose name came back, long after everyone had forgotten what they were waiting for. In 1974, Mark Smith was 27 years old. He lived in a small town in western Montana. He worked construction. He played guitar on the weekends. He was saving up to move to California. His family described him as quiet, steady, the kind of person who said what he was going to do, and then did it. That summer, he told his mother he was driving south, down through Idaho, into Oregon, then across into California. He said he'd call when he got there. He never called. For the first few weeks, no one panicked. In 1974, people didn't call home every day. Long distance was expensive. A letter might take a week to arrive. A missing check-in wasn't a crisis. But 1 week turned into 2. 2 turned into a month. A month turned into a season. His mother filed a missing persons report in the fall. She called the highway patrol in 3 states. She wrote to truck stops. She mailed photos to police departments along his likely route. Most of the responses were polite. A few were sympathetic. None of them had answers. For 4 years, there was nothing. Just silence. Just an empty chair at Christmas. Just a pair of boots in his closet that no one moved. Then, in the summer of 1978, something happened in Oregon. A logging crew was clearing timber near Williams, Oregon. A small town in the southwestern part of the state. Dense forest. Steep hills. The kind of country where a man could walk 20 feet off the road and disappear forever. One of the workers found them. Bones. Partially buried in the undergrowth. Scattered by animals. Weathered by 4 winters. He called his foreman. The foreman called the sheriff. The sheriff called the state medical examiner. Within a day, the site was taped off. Within a week, investigators had collected everything they could find. It wasn't much. Some skeletal remains. A few scraps of fabric. A belt buckle. A piece of a watch band. There was no wallet. No ID. No personal effects that could name him. The medical examiner confirmed it was a man. Roughly 5'10". Roughly 30 years old, give or take. Dead for 3 to 5 years. They sent dental records to every surrounding county. They checked missing persons databases across the Pacific Northwest. Nothing matched. The remains were given a case number. John Doe 78-14. Stored in a climate-controlled room at the medical examiner's office. Labeled. Logged. And slowly, forgotten. Years passed. The 1980s came. The 1990s came. Forensic science started advancing. DNA analysis became a tool. Then genetic genealogy. Then ancestry databases. The case file stayed in that storage room. Sometimes a new investigator would pull it out. Read through it. Realize there wasn't enough to work with. And put it back. In Montana, the Smith family tried to move on. Mark's father died in 1989. He never stopped believing his son would come home. His mother held on until 2003. In her final years, she told her other children that she saw Mark in her dreams. He was walking. Just walking. Like he was still on his way somewhere. By 2020, there were only a few Smiths left. A younger brother. 2 cousins. A handful of nieces and nephews who had never met him. And then, in 2024, something changed. A cold case unit in Oregon received new funding. They started going through every unidentified remains case in the state. Case by case. Box by box. John Doe 78 to 14 came up in the queue. They pulled his file. They pulled a bone fragment. They sent it to a forensic lab at the University of North Texas, one of the most advanced facilities in the country for identifying old remains. The lab ran it through a modern DNA extraction. They built a genetic profile. They uploaded it to a genealogy database. Within hours, they had a hit. A second cousin in Wyoming, who had submitted her DNA to the same database 3 years earlier. Looking for family history. The lab built out the family tree. They traced it back. They found Mark's younger brother, still living in that same small town in Montana. On February 26, 2026, a detective from Oregon called the Smith family. He said, "I think we've found your brother." The family gave a DNA sample. The match was confirmed that week. Mark Smith, missing for 52 years. Finally identified. Here's what they still don't know. How he died. Who he was with. Why he ended up in those specific woods, off the route he told his mother he was taking. The case is now classified as suspicious. Investigators are reviewing the original 1978 scene reports. They're looking for anyone who lived in that area in the mid-1970s. Anyone who might remember something. Anyone who might know why a 27-year-old from Montana ended up buried in an Oregon forest. His brother gave an interview the week the identification came through. He said their mother had always believed Mark was out there. Walking. On his way somewhere. He said she wasn't wrong. Mark had been somewhere all along. Just waiting to come home. He was buried in Montana in the spring of 2026. Next to his parents. 52 years late. The grave marker has his full name. His birth year. And a single phrase his brother asked them to carve underneath. Finally here.